it's a little sunny, but it's fine. It's not bad. I mean, it doesn't deject from your beautiful face or anything. Everybody, welcome back to the JERD Nation Podcast. We're here today to talk about a GOAT in particular, or the GOAT, depends on where you stand, and that is Kobe Bryant. Today we got Cody P, Courtney Y, and Tim O. We're going to be discussing the Black Mamba. So who wants to start?
Man, when you think of Kobe Bryant, I don't think it's enough accolades to describe that man's work ethic. Like that, his work ethic inspired me to the point to where I apply it to whatever I'm doing. Like quotes like don't just enjoy the journey, the destination, enjoy the journey, and things like that. Like as controversial as he was also just as much insightful. So when you think about, this guy spent over half of his life playing professional basketball. Like, I don't think people really understand that. Dude spent most of his life in the NBA. He came to the NBA at 17 years old. Like, over half of his life was played a professional sport, and he took that as serious as he possibly could. Like, there are stories about, all of us have heard the stories about him being in the gym at 5 a.m. and this and that. Like, Allen Iverson wrote in the Players Tribune, I want to say the other day, and he was saying that he came to LA with Kobe once, and they were like, "Hey, I'm going to the clubs," and Kobe's like, "I'm going to the gym." So, like, stuff like that. Like, dude was just so, it was just endless work, and he was just tireless about it. All he wanted to do was be the best. And that might rub some people the wrong way, particularly a 7'2" dude who was in Kazam. But
don't forget the diet center that tried to be like the 7'2" dude in Kazam.
And there was nothing wrong with the way Shaq approached the game. Everybody doesn't approach the game the same way. The whole goal is to win, and they won 3 out of 4 NBA finals. So that says something. But the fact remains that I think that people really didn't grasp what Kobe Bryant meant to not only basketball but the world on that day in January. Because I was actually I was in Houston going to the Royal Rumble. Actually, I was like prepared to go to the first Royal Rumble I ever been to, and then this happened, and I'm like, my whole day is just deflated. Like, I thought it was a joke. When you get there, like somebody said, he killed like Kobe dead. I thought maybe it's like a joke because, LeBron passed him like the day before, whatever. But then like I get confirmation and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you're right. And I didn't mean to cut you off there, but his work ethic is not something you see in many, even professional ball players to the level that he was at. I mean, he really embodied that killer mentality. I mean, his nickname is there's no other suited nickname for him, just relentless, go all the time kind of guy. I mean, I remember when Kobe hit the league, I was young, and I remember watching him play and thinking, this guy, I'm only a few years younger than this guy, and he didn't even go to college. He just went right in, and I remember how amazing it was to even, at that point in my life, concept that.
Exactly.
And I didn't appreciate it until I got a little older, just how he was. So I remember the day that he died, I remember hoping that it was a joke or, some false information or something. And then you start seeing all the footage and stuff, and it was just, it was a terrible day for sports, terrible day for anybody that's ever even watched basketball, just a terrible day.
I remember that day. Me and him were talking about linking up to go to the Royal Rumble, and I didn't end up I didn't end up getting around to going to it. And I remember the night before, Morgan, like her tire was pretty much completely blown out. And so we had to pay all the money to fix it. And so we put her spare on, and then we went to the Walmart to get the other one fixed, the one that we put the spare on. And so I remember pulling up and waiting in line, and I think everybody that was on Twitter saw it at the same time. Like, the first person I saw was Pat McAfee's tweet, and it just said, "Please don't let this Kobe news be true." And like, I just remember, like, I froze up and I was like, "Oh no." And then everyone on Twitter at the same time was like, "Oh my God, no." And like, I don't think I've ever really like felt that it's kind of weird because we've never met these people that we watch, whether it's in like movies or sports and stuff. But like for me, I grew up watching Kobe, and it's just, it's a combination of the fact that he was so young, like seeing someone that it's one thing if you're if it's an athlete you grew up watching and they die and they're in their 70s or 80s and stuff, like that happens in age, but to be taken away at that young and stuff, it was really hard to process. And I just remember, I hated the fact that I had to, but I couldn't just sit out in the car and I couldn't go home. So I was literally like sulking all across Walmart, like bawling my eyes out, looking like a weirdo. But then I started noticing other people were doing it too. And I was like, oh, so now I guess I'm not alone on it, And it was just, I think that's like I always talk about, I think that's when 2020 really went downhill. But I can't, other than Robin Williams' death and then Eddie Guerrero's when I was a kid, I don't really think that I've felt that kind of pain. And the world really did stop. Like when everybody found out that Kobe died, it just seems like everybody, like I remember messaging Sammy about it. And then in the chat, Courtney and I were talking about it and all that. And it just kind of seemed like the earth like stood still for that day.
Em, do you remember any deaths of, famous athletes or anything in their prime that kind of resound with you? Both.
Nobody comes to mind other than him. I mean, it was the the way he died. It was a big shocker, man. I mean, nobody expected that. Well, it was the night before they honored him, wasn't it, at the game?
Yeah, Kobe, because LeBron passed him in points.
Right, and and then the day after, man, and it teaches you that, man, we're not guaranteed tomorrow at all. But no, at first, I mean, I was like everybody else. It's got to be a joke because you get that a lot, especially the Vin Diesel ones. But Vin Diesel died or whatever. Or The Rock died. The Rock died. The Rock's died 10 times. But that one, and then the more the stuff came in the Facebook feed, I was like, no way, man. Are you kidding me? I mean, he was just here last night at the game, and all of a sudden he's not with us no longer. But I agree with you, Courtney, man. The work ethic that guy had, bro. He came in the league, 1996, right?
Yep.
96. Yeah, we were in high school, Sammy. And,
Freshman. Yep.
That's a major feat in and of itself. Is going from high school straight to the NBA. Of course, you're thinking, well, how good is a guy going to really be in the NBA if he hasn't played a little bit of college? But I tell you what, everybody wondered who the next Michael Jordan was going to be, and he was the closest thing we had, and it was pretty close. And you're right, the Black Mamba nickname, it's right on, because that dude was deadly on the court. I mean, he was fun to watch. He really was.
The funny thing about that nickname is I'm pretty sure he gave it to himself whenever. Yeah, because I think whenever the whole court situation and things were going on, he was mad about how the media was talking about him, and he got so fed up. He's like, I'm the Black Mamba. And then he went out and then had that crazy 06 season where he dropped the 81 on the Raptors. And I just remember reading up on that.
Well, like Courtney said, there's a lot of people that didn't like him because of his mentality, and, giving yourself that nickname just highlights that even more. And I respect that. Like, if you can embody that, you've got something. Touching on the death thing a little bit. The only other person I'm going to mention in my lifetime was probably Dale Earnhardt. the last lap, and when he hit, I knew he was gone. There was no doubt in my mind. You know, the way, the angle he hit, and everything. It was bad, but you know, a lot of those. I mean, they live for that though. You know, like Dale Earnhardt, he wouldn't have wanted to go out any other way, and you know. I wish Kobe could have went out playing ball, you know, because that's what he would have wanted.
It's kind of like the Owen situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I was just like, if I had to say the only celebrity death I think that like even came close to that for me was probably Michael Jackson. Like those two were like Mike was like everything to me. Like he was like everything. Dude could do whatever he like. I thought like
dance, act.
Exactly. Like when I saw him do the smooth criminal thing, I thought that was like real. And then, you know, like so when Mike passed, I was like 19 years old. So, you know, at the time I was like, dang, this is really like it really bothered me. But like now I'm 30 and then Kobe Bryant passes, like I kind of figured Mike was on borrowed time because, you know, I mean, Mike had a lot of stuff going on.
He was really paranoid around the time that he passed.
Kobe was like trying to enjoy life with his family. That's like after he retired from ball, he was like, this is what's important to me now. Getting recognition for women's basketball, raising his family, being with his family. And for him to have tried to, like, he wins this Oscar and he's trying to build an empire and then it's just cut short like that. Like, it just hit me real tough, man. Because, like, this is, like, you go in, like, Kobe comes into the league. Before he even is drafted, he's playing one-on-one with Jerry Stackhouse and, like, really giving him the business. And now it's, like, not even 25 years later, and he's gone.
So, you know, there's a lot of debate about, you know, basketball GOATs. We're not going to go that direction with it because it's so subjective. Well, and I say that because, you know, Michael Jordan bridged Kobe Bryant bridged LeBron James. You wouldn't have one without the other.
I think the whole GOAT conversation is really based, like I said, it's subjective, but I also think that everyone has a different criteria. So that's what it makes it so hard to be like, okay, this is the guy. Because some people are like, okay, he doesn't have this many championships, or he doesn't have these numbers, or he doesn't have this, or he lost in this round. Like, I don't get wrapped up in all of that. And I try not to get wrapped up in all of that now. Because if one thing Kobe taught me, just enjoy the game. He's like, and like one of his tweets, like, I want to say a couple of years before, not even a full year, I think, he was like, respect my 5, respect Jordan 6, respect LeBron's quest. Now, like, those 3 athletes brought something that we haven't seen to the table, like, ever. So just it now before it's gone.
The one thing I do want to say about Kobe in the realm of GOATs is that he really is the only player that Michael Jordan ever said could beat him one-on-one. So take that as you will. I think when you have that a passing of the torch with that comment, I don't think the man would say it if he didn't believe it or if he didn't know it to be true. You know, you can look at it however you want, but for me, that, you know, that's a pretty good indicator of how great he really, really was.
Yeah, because I remember seeing on the last dance documentary, they were playing the Lakers, and like you could see Jordan like, hey, that dude's gonna be a problem. He's like, that young boy over there, he's gonna be a problem.
It's crazy because whenever they played each other in the All-Star game, it's the same thing as when they played. When he first said he's gonna be a problem. Like, it was so funny if you go back and watch those two go at it. Like, they really do mirror each other night and day. Like, it's pretty crazy how much their games are patterned. I mean, I've never, like, we talk about the Mamba mentality and stuff. I've only seen 2 athletes my whole life, really, that have truly embodied that. And I would say Kobe and then Tom Brady, as far as the winning at all costs, do whatever. Because, I mean, like, Tom Brady will literally have a countdown to the next Super Bowl in his gym every year. The clock restarts for it. Even the day after he won the Super Bowl, he had it like that. You know, and, like, I don't know if you guys could think of anybody else, but those are the only two I've ever seen that have that ethic and success because of their work ethic.
I'd say Serena Williams.
Oh yeah, definitely for sure.
You got certain athletes out there that one is not enough, and 2, 3, 4 is not enough, and it's not really about the ring chasing. It's just them trying to be the best they can be, even better than the next year. Okay, I won the Super Bowl this year. Let's be better next year.
Exactly.
Do we want the Super Bowl? Do we want the NBA Finals? Sure, but it starts with the individual first, and another athlete that comes to mind that had a great work ethic like that was really hard was Jerry Rice.
He was.
Jerry Rice had that killer instinct.
Definitely did.
And Tiger Woods, we can't forget him either, because what that dude did to play golf at the level he did was insane. Insane.
Recently won one of those like major tournaments. I want to say a year or so ago.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I've never rooted for somebody to win as hard as I rooted for Tiger Woods. I wanted him to win. I want him to win every time he steps out, because I remember watching him as I was growing up. Like,
they didn't like it.
Who cared? Well, I did. Who cared about golf? And then you have somebody that steps onto the field that makes you appreciate the game. He made me love watching golf. And, I can't think of anybody else that ever done that for me.
Well, and that's what sets, with these athletes we're mentioning, sets them apart from any other athlete, because they were truly great. They weren't out there chasing a triple-double title or other things, dumb things like that. Are very just on the surface kind of stuff. And these guys were just really set apart and top echelon athletes that just were the best.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, and I'm gonna say one more thing about Jordan, and then we'll kind of leave him. But Jordan was a terrible teammate.
Oh yeah, he punched Steve Kerr in the face.
I mean, terrible. And to me, to really be a GOAT, man, I know he did elevate the guys around him, but to do it in the way that he did it, in this day, in this age we're living in, wouldn't happen. It wouldn't work. And Kobe didn't really have that reputation, not like that.
Nothing compares to like the essentially hazing that Michael Jordan did to us, because that's what it was, man.
Courtney said, punch Steve Kerr in the face.
I think what it is like everyone, like leadership can be done in different ways. Like there are some ways, some people have to be hard on guys. You have to constantly be on them. And there are some guys who you have to pull to the side and be like, hey man, da 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 da. Or some people are visual learners. Some people are like, I'm going to work hard. So they're going to look at me and be like, okay, the head guy is working hard. So maybe we need to work hard. So leadership varies depending on the person. Like LeBron James' leadership is a little bit different than say Michael Jordan, or it all just varies on teammates. Like I don't think people really understand how much it takes to win a professional championship. Like so much has to go right, and there's a whole lot of luck going into it. You have to factor in injuries and then moving parts between trades and things like that. Especially in the NFL, it's very hard to just go back to back to winning Super Bowls and things like that, because so many different moving parts are going on. Okay, your left tackle might be different from last year. So now this guy's got to get brought up to speed, and, it's so many different things. And it's like Kobe's leadership wasn't, we're going to hang out and whatever. It was like, okay, I'm up at 5. What are you guys doing? And so
it was more of a lead by example.
Right.
And Michael Jordan's was not quite the same at all.
It was lead by example, but it was tough love. I mean, they all forgave him because they all knew what he wanted and they all knew what they wanted. Most of them are 3 and 4 and 5-time NBA champions because Jordan pushed them to be, whatever. He would go into practice. He wouldn't take a day off. He wouldn't go into practice oh, it's just practice. So I'm just going to, get a couple of shots and whatever. He went hard in practice. And that could like I said, it can rub people the wrong way.
What's kind of funny is if you sit down and think about it, Kobe kind of had a Rodman, like because he, Jordan did not particularly care for Rodman's lifestyle, and Kobe was kind of the same way with Ron Artest.
Yeah, but see, Ron came in and he was like this close to being out the NBA. He knew that, so he came in and put in work. He knew what he had to do to get right. They win the championship. Not everybody can, skip practice and go to WCW Nitro or whatever. But Jordan can't really talk either, though, because Jordan was a notorious gambler. So, cigar, drinking. Like, Jordan had his hang-ups, too.
Tim, me and you talk a lot about, like, athletes. We've coached football and stuff, and you always know when you see that kid then there's something special. What kind of like basketball IQ do you think Kobe must have had to go into the NBA at 17?
There's a difference between that kid who has that sport they're playing, the smarts up for it, and just the innate ability just to do what you need to do to play with the kids around you or people better than you. And I think that's what talking about leadership with Michael Jordan. I went back into his past. I think if you read his book, being cut from his high school team or whatever, and he made sure he played with people that were much better than him, and so in turn he got better. And I guarantee that's what kind of teammate he was to the guys on the Bulls, was that, hey, if you're going to play with me, I want you on a level, or try to be on a level that I'm on, and I'm not going to be your friend. I'm going to spank your hiney. I'll be your daddy to get you there. And I think that's what he did.
I think personally, I know it came out down the road. I think one of the reasons that Kobe probably had so much faith in himself is that he originally, if I remember right, was being asked to go to Duke by Coach K. Because obviously him and Coach K formed a bond, because I like Duke myself. So wow. Obviously, that
one and done.
Yeah.
Duke, one and done?
Yeah.
No, when you go to Duke or Kentucky, you're one and done. You're only there. I think he only
Christian Whitmer would like to have a word with you.
That's role player university.
But that's the thing. The point I was trying to make is that I know for one, if I was looking at either going to college or going to the NBA, and I had a basketball mind like Coach K looking at taking me, that'd probably make me feel like I would have enough that I could possibly have what it takes to be in the NBA.
Yeah. Courtney, you talked about the work ethic. Do you think there's anybody that's tougher than Kobe Bryant? His toughness is legendary.
If I had to say, just out of I don't know if there's anybody as tough. That guy was he would play on the worst injuries. I think once, I want to say the 2013 season, he had a jumper and he landed on Dante Jones's foot or something, and he had an ankle sprain, high ankle sprain. Usually those take week or two to recover. He came out the very next game and tried to play. Now we're in the era of load management where guys, which I support, because 82 games is a long time to be playing any sport. But that dude, if he could play all 82, he was going to. So I got to give – I don't know if I've ever seen an athlete as tough as Kobe.
I mean, it just speaks for itself. I remember you were talking about the 2013 season. He ended up tearing his ACL in the game against the Warriors, walked back on the court, shot his 2 free throws when they were down 2, made them, and then got off the court.
Yeah, when he tore his Achilles that game?
Yeah, when he tore his Achilles, yeah.
I don't think people really grasp how, when you you can barely stand when you tear your Achilles. That dude not only stood, he went out there and made the free throws and walked off. That's dedication right there.
That's why, athletes like Kobe Bryant are set apart from everybody else. Is you mentioned their dedication, but even more, their passion for the game.
Yes.
it's all they know. Not all they know, but it's all they love at that time in their life. It's all they want. So anybody tougher, it's hard to really put somebody up there. I mean, you could put Jordan. You could put Jordan up there because he barely missed. Kobe you could put up there, but that's what I like to see out of athletes. Those kind of types of athletes is just the passion. I love seeing a passionate player. I really, really do.
And what's crazy about Kobe is, like, even with everything that was going on with him, like, a lot of people turned against him. Adidas dropped him. He lost his spot on the 04 Olympic team, all of that. Like, the dude didn't whine. He didn't complain. He just went out there and said, I'm just gonna keep playing.
As we, I like, guys, as we take this time to remember Kobe and to honor him, I want to know what anybody can go first, but what is your favorite Kobe moment to you that stands out above anybody else?
Ooh.
Oh man, it's so many.
I have a whole note full of them.
When he dropped 81, I say that. Let me just say this real quick. The reason I say that is because, he's the only player I think that I've watched that I feel could have done that. They talk about Wilt Chamberlain 100-point game.
I haven't seen
but
it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Show me the video and we'll chalk it up. But scoring 81 points on professional athletes. As an opponent, how do you even recover from giving up 81?
Jalen Rose still gets bothered by it. He blocked me on my old Twitter account because I tweeted number 81.
As much as everyone talks about the 81 game, I think the best game of his career is the 62 and 3/4 on the Mavs, because the Mavs went on to go to the NBA Finals that same year. Like, he dropped more points than the Mavs did in 3 whole quarters, and this team went to the NBA Finals that year. That is insane.
Yeah,
the team
that is
outscored them on his own. He probably could have went for 100 that game. I'm not even sugarcoating. He was that on. But my favorite Kobe moment is probably the 2010 championship. Like, I'm a Lakers fan through and through and through, and nothing drives me more insane than seeing Boston fans talk all that junk about that 08 season that didn't happen. So to see him win that championship, even Kobe himself said that is the most satisfying championship he ever had. That's the one for him, because he beat the rival after they had just, after the 2008 season got washed away. I don't know what happened there. I think the records got washed. But to go out there, 1D against the big three, and Rondo and
Cody
Wallace and all those guys like that. The dude pulled down 15 rebounds in that game.
What about you, Cody? What's your favorite moment?
Well, to piggyback off what he said, the 2010 finals meant a lot to me too, because like I was talking to Sammy about this earlier, that finals was when I was in the process of, my family was moving from West Virginia to Oklahoma now. And I just remember I was just so stressed out all the time about, like, just moving around, being a military kid and stuff. And that was kind of like my escape, because I loved Kobe Bryant. And I just remember, like, I would come home and I would watch the finals every night that they had it and stuff. So I don't know, like, that's probably my favorite finals win of his, just because I was going through so much, like, it was moving stressful, totally new environment. But, Kobe would have handled it. That's kind of how I looked at it. But I would say, I don't know, man, I really liked his final game against Utah where he dropped 60. Like, you had all those celebrities in attendance: Nicholson, Kanye, Jay-Z, Beckham was there, Shaq was there, like, everybody was there. And I just remember the commentator made the mistake of saying, he might shoot it 50 times, he won't score 50. And then Kobe, in Kobe fashion, got 60.
And the funny thing about that game is that same night the Warriors were chasing 73 that night.
And no one
History
cared.
was literally being made
And no one
as
cared.
far as NBA history. Everyone was so no one cared because everyone was trying to watch Kobe's final NBA game. And the crazy thing is, like, everybody talks about the shot, the Jordan shot on Utah. I got Kobe's like last NBA jump shot bucket. I have it. I'm getting it framed. I got the picture in black and white, but I got him colored in. Same shot, same exact shot, same team.
Well, and I'll let me touch on this too. Something else that I guess a moment for me too with Kobe. The 81 was always big in my head, but also the 2008 Olympics actually. Because they come from a 2004 bronze medal finish.
That team is probably my favorite Olympic team ever. Like, I am so not.
And I mean, I really do believe without his mentality, but United States basketball should never lose to Argentina and Italy. They never should happen.
I think we sleep on Argentina and Spain and all those. Like, those teams are really
Spaniards.
Well, they've come a long way, but even then, to lose in 2004 and then for him to come back in 2008, it was. I mean, I still believe that it was his mentality that woke those guys up. That was big for me because I'm a big Olympics guy. I've always enjoyed watching the Olympics.
I remember. I mean, another little simple Kobe memory that I was bringing up was the Matt Barnes. When Matt Barnes acted like he was gonna throw the ball on Kobe's face, and Kobe didn't even flinch.
Oh, yeah, They panned in the opposite angle of Kobe's face, and he's just stone cold killer. That's a good one too, But yeah, I would say for me, I'd probably say the Jazz game. Like everyone, I think everybody that watched remembers where they were when that happened and all that. And it's funny that he brought up the Warriors thing because it's absolutely true. Like, no one cared. They were going to beat the Bulls record, and no one cared because it was Kobe's last game. And I remember I was in, that was whenever I got reclassed in the military, and I was at Fort Lee, and I was just so unhappy. Like, I just was not in a good mind state. And I just remember watching that game. That's all I cared about. Like, I had an iPad at the time connected to my family's cable app or whatever, used their login info, and I just watched Kobe ball out. Man, it was a good time.
So I guess I'm gonna throw a question out there. Give me your favorite Kobe dunk.
That's a tough one. I'll tell you my favorite. When he dunked on Paul Pierce. I don't like Paul Pierce, so you can accuse me of that one.
I don't really care for Paul Pierce either. Dude, that prima donna is like, that dude is a legit prima donna.
Kobe dunking over LeBron, hand to the face. I guess it was. I'm not a huge LeBron fan, so that one always makes me giggle just a little bit.
My favorite moment of Kobe is summed up in his whole career was watching him just play and then watching him grow up and mature, because it was a big difference, man, between when he started and then the whole thing with the affair thing with he had press conference with his wife and yada yada. From that moment on, man, just how he matured so quickly and just, I think, just gained a lot more respect after that from everybody in the league and across the world. I just that's my favorite moment. Moments.
I gotta say, man, Jack Nicholson asking him for his autograph when he was a little kid, man. So funny. It's like Jack knew. Jack knew what he saw.
I think my favorite moment, like I was living. I'm from Memphis, so I was still living in Memphis at the time. My dad works for the Grizzlies actually, and like he got me. He knew I wanted to go to see Kobe Bryant, and he got me a ticket. I was like 17 years old. This is when Kobe was having the 07 season from like hell, and then I'm sitting here watching, and I'm watching this man light the Grizzlies up for 50. Like, it's like 8th or 9th 50-point game like that month or something. And I'm just sitting here watching, and I'm just amazed. Like, and all these people are just looking at me like, because I'm like, I'm from Memphis, but all these people around here are Memphis fans. But I'm like, that's my dude right there. I'm a Lakers fan. So Memphis didn't get a basketball team till I was like 10. Like I was always a Lakers fan before then, so I can't just switch.
Well, and change it up just a little bit. We've talked about Kobe as a shooter. How that Mamba mentality, but it's something that people forget when they talk about Kobe. Kobe is he was an amazing defender. I think it was only Tim Duncan maybe that has more defensive all league defensive awards than Kobe. I mean that says a lot. Like some of the other guys aren't known for their defense, is what I'll say.
Right.
It just that that just goes back to his mentality, like the fact that he could play the complete game. And play at such a high level for so long, it's something that, I mean, you're never going to see another Kobe Bryant.
Well, not to – I definitely agree with that, but one thing I wanted to bring up, and I was going to ask Courtney and all that, because I know I believe you and Tim said you guys just kind of casually watch basketball now compared to how you guys used to. One segment I wanted to get in, and I think what you said is a good way to launch into it, is like some of Kobe's proteges he's taken in that weren't particularly Lakers, like I was going to ask Courtney who his favorite was, because I mean, like you got Kyrie. Me personally, I would say my favorite that Kobe had taken notes of and like was telling him, hey, do this to kind of step your game up a little bit more, sharpen up your edges, is Westbrook for me. Like, I would say Russell Westbrook is probably my favorite, quote-unquote, protege of the Mamba mentality.
That's tough.
It either be him or Kyrie for me. I mean, you could say Devin Booker. There's so many people that Kobe's reached out to.
And like, specifically, like because I like LeBron, and then, like, oh, man, this is tough. So I would have to.
I was talking more of the younger players. I wasn't thinking of.
If I had to pick a younger guy, it would probably be. Yeah, I'd have to say Kyrie probably, because Kyrie's like, it's not even just that what Kyrie is like. That's not even just on a basketball standpoint. Kyrie is becoming like a way better person to me.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he didn't handle the Boston situation the best. But, let's be real here. He didn't ask to be traded to be Boston either.
Boston fans weren't very welcoming of him either.
Exactly. So Boston is not – they're known for how they treat certain people. Let's just get that out the way. But I would have to say Kyrie, because Kyrie is embodying, like, not just on the court, but off the court. He's trying to give back. Like, he just posted, like, he did the Dear Kobe thing where he was giving back to the fans, the community. Kyrie's trying to do so much to try to get into the community and be like, that was my guy, that was my idol, that was my hero, whatever. So it's either him or maybe Dame Lillard.
What is Kobe Bryant's legacy?
I think people, obviously, we know about Kobe, the ball player. I just think Kobe is just as great of a human being as he was a defender, a scorer, a shooter. And it's unfortunate that it took his passing for that to kind of be more of a focal point of conversation. But I mean, like, he was always advocating for the WNBA to get funded more and for people to take women's basketball more seriously. I think Kobe is a person, I think it's crazy because very rarely do you see an athlete who is as good of a person as they are an athlete, like at least with the grades. And to me, I think that's what Kobe's legacy is. I think this year in particular shows a lot about the impact that he had on people and just basketball community as a whole. Like you see people from all different sports wearing the number 8 now, talking about what the Mamba mentality meant to them and stuff. And you see a lot. I think personally, you see a lot more athletes giving back to the community now that Kobe passed away. But in addition to that, I think Kobe as a father is something worth mentioning too. Like I think I would put that at the forefront with him being a good player.
To see a dude who is trying to finally enjoy life and somebody who is just learning how to live it. Taken away like that is just like I can only feel for Vanessa. Like
for me, his legacy on the court, off the court, and I'm going to take it from this angle. I never really considered Kobe the GOAT, and I won't say that now, but I do put him in much higher of a regard because of the conversations I've had with fans and people about it. I never really looked at him in that light. But he was just from the beginning of his career to the end of his career, he was just fun to watch, and it was hard to watch him walk away from the game.
Yeah, he did. You could tell he was just like, I think it was just the injuries were really, really taking a toll. Like if he had just the Achilles injury, he probably would have extended the career. But like the next year, I think he had a shoulder injury where he only played like 5 games. And then there was a year after that where he only played like 27 or so because he had another injury. So I just think that he was just like, man, it's time. And I don't think he wanted it to be like that. But it's good that he went out the way he did because Tim Duncan went right behind him. Kevin Garnett went right behind him. So it only makes sense that those dudes who didn't play, like one of the last few guys who go straight from high school to the pros, except Tim Duncan, he went to Wake Forest. But him and Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan, Kobe and Tim Duncan defined 2000 to 2010 for me. So for those two to go in the hall at the same time, it's special for me.
I think the sad part is that, I really feel like Kobe at some point would have become a coach for the Lakers once his kids were more situated and he was more able to sit back and reap the benefits of being a father. And that's one thing that's really saddening too, is I think we would all agree that Kobe probably would have at some point either been the manager or been a coach.
Because he definitely was involved in getting LeBron to the Lakers. So the last great assist, 7 trips to the NBA Finals, 10 years. That is, like, I don't think people fathom how insane that is. It's plenty more we could probably say about Kobe. I don't think there's ever really enough to ever say about Kobe, but that man was something that people didn't appreciate. I guess now it's better late than never, but they should have gave him his flowers while he was still alive. So that's just where I stand with it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how the basketball community as a whole is, like people are so, and sports as a whole as well, people are so tied to what they grew up with. And that's why you and I speak so highly of Kobe, obviously, Courtney. But people don't really take a step back to look at what certain players mean to other generations and what certain players bring to the game as a whole, because sometimes we all tend to be wrapped up in our own nostalgia. I hope maybe one day there's a time where we're all able to just sit back and be like, we should just appreciate this player or this athlete while we're here because we're alive to see them, And people, same thing happened with, I don't know how it was with MJ, if people criticized him a lot, but Kobe and LeBron, I've been alive for both of them, and both of them were heavily scrutinized. And I don't think people are still scrutinizing LeBron and all that, Tim. And
well, and I'll tell you though, really, and Tim can speak to this too. The media when Jordan was in Chicago had a love affair with Michael Jordan. I mean, it wasn't just how great he was. I mean, it was you put that aside. I mean, Michael Jordan was really crammed down our throats too. Because growing up, I appreciated Michael Jordan's talent, but I was never a Bulls fan. Now, my dad was a Bulls fan, so I always watched the Bulls, but I always kind of rooted for the Pistons. I liked that bad boy attitude, and Bill Laimbeer and Dennis Rodman. Like I liked those rough and tumble guys, and so I can kind of look at Michael Jordan a little more objectively, but like you said, that nostalgia kicks in, and that's a hard thing to get over. Tim,
what?
Speak on Jerd.
Well, I agree, man. We you get caught up in at the present time you're living, watching athletes, and you're seeing somebody great that's great for a long time, and we're automatically just throw them on the GOAT pedestal.
You know, Kobe embodied things that I don't think Michael Jordan or LeBron James, either one, embodies. And, you know, for me, just kind of reflecting on a little bit, I mean, he's definitely held in a whole lot higher regard than I ever had before.